Well, it is Wednesday, and I am back in the office. I was in Philadelphia this morning representing a client. Now I'm back in the office in Moorestown, New Jersey, to see some clients in the afternoon session. With that said, I did put out a blog article regarding the Jalen Carter situation. Jalen Carter, as many people know, is a top NFL draft pick. He's at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis when he found out there was an arrest warrant for him. There was an incident involving he was driving a car, and there's an allegation that he was drag racing, and the arrest warrant is for reckless driving and drag racing. The blog article explained regarding how serious reckless driving is in Georgia. It's similar to the laws in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. It is a misdemeanor offense. I don't foresee Mr. Carter doing any type of jail time. Now, the interesting thing about this case is people have asked, could it get more serious? And on top of that, how teams will view this. To be upfront, it is a charge. It's a criminal charge, but it's not as serious as a felony charge. It's certainly not a vehicular homicide charge. And it's important to point out that there was another driver in this case. And again, I don't do this to pile on a family that's already going through a lot, but the woman who was killed in this case, the other driver, Chandler LaCroix is her name, and the other player who's killed, Devin Whitlock, the driver LaCroix had a BAC of almost double the legal limit, I believe. So she was legally drunk, very intoxicated, just based on the BAC from the incident following the autopsy report. And the car that she was driving was traveling at over 100 miles an hour. So even though that they charged Jalen Carter with reckless driving and drag racing, there's no evidence to indicate that Mr. Carter was involved in what ultimately and unfortunately caused this young woman's death or the death of his teammate. Now, in addition, there was two more people who were injured who were in that vehicle, but it appears to me that in terms of aggravating evidence that would possibly subject Mr. Carter to potential jail time, even for a misdemeanor offense, I don't see that. Had it been a situation where it was reckless driving and drag racing, and the driver who was killed was just not doing that and simply driving just a normal speed limit, and Jalen Carter, it was alleged that he did something to kind of put their car in an unsafe predicament, well, then we could see a potential vehicular homicide charge or death by auto charge. And now I think Jalen Carter did the right thing after the incident. He obviously stayed there. He didn't leave the scene. So he wasn't going to be charged with leaving the scene of an accident involving death and serious bodily injury case. In this situation, 2 deaths and 2 counts of personal injury. Had he done that, the charges would have been a lot more serious. For instance, in Pennsylvania, leaving the scene of an accident where a death or a serious bodily injury has occurred is a felony offense, and there's actually a mandatory minimum charge with regards to if a death is involved. Now, he did do the right thing. I think he made a big mistake of speaking to authorities without an attorney present. And I think that's where the arrest warrant came from, because again, he may have gotten a reckless driving charge, but again, with regards to the drag racing charge and the reckless driving charge, I think him making statements didn't make things any better. And I read something that said that he had given conflicting reports. Now, I don't know if they have video evidence of what occurred. Possibly they do, but I haven't read anything that said the police had any type of video evidence, any kind of dash cameras or street cameras showing the actual incident. Now, that may change when they have full discovery, but I think when Jalen Carter spoke to police, he probably wasn't in the best state of mind. Even after that, days after it, perhaps, I'm not sure exactly when he spoke to police, but if he was my client, I would have had him not say anything at all. He didn't leave the scene. He just could have given his name, his license, and just obviously they could figure out on their own he was driving a car, and just based on accident reconstruction data, they probably could have inferred that he was driving at excessive speed, but he didn't need to tell them anything. And I think where these charges possibly came from, now look, they could have come from just reviewing evidence and just circumstantial evidence and looking at cameras, but I don't think his statements helped him at all. I think the fact that they gave allegedly conflicting reports is somewhat factored into their decision to charge him. So again, I don't think that he should have said anything, and I think that I'm actually surprised he went to the combine and that his legal counsel advised him to do that, because the arrest warrant, I would think that his attorney probably knew it was coming down the road, and to me, it's a really bad look for him to be at the combine and have literally be taken off the stage there and have to just kind of go back to Athens, Georgia. I think had he remained in Athens, Georgia, and just remained silent, I think it would have been a lot better in terms of damage control. I think it made him look even worse by having to go there, come back, and look like now he wasn't being totally upfront with police. Had he just remained silent, there wouldn't have been an allegation of conflicting reports. So again, reckless driving, drag racing, I don't foresee him going to jail, or obviously not prison. With regards to what the NFL will do, I don't think, again, I don't know exactly what the league policy is, but he's not a player yet. So he hasn't signed any type of player conduct agreement. He's not a member of the NFL, so he's not a member of the Players Association. I don't believe, to use the word, that Roger Goodell has jurisdiction over what happened. Now, if they want to take some action against him once he enters the league, I don't think that's really fair, because again, this occurred before he became a player. So I think where it's going to hurt him is possibly his drafting selection, but I don't think he's going to go to jail. So he's not going to miss any type of playing time. It's my understanding he hasn't sustained any injuries, so physically he's ready to go. So unless a team wants to think about it a little more because of a judgment call, but to be upfront with people, I think a lot of us have done things with vehicles and maybe driven a little faster than we should have in many spots in our life. Now, unfortunately for this young man, this didn't end well. But there's a lot of people out there who are never charged with anything. Probably a lot of NFL players, and I realize I'm speculating, but again, one of the reasons why car insurance is more expensive for younger drivers is because our judgments as younger drivers aren't as good as older drivers. I know that I myself drive a lot slower now than I did when I was probably 18 years old, and I just won't travel at excessive speeds. And I'm not justifying driving fast, but when you're younger, you think you're invincible and nothing can hurt you. And as you get a little older and you begin losing friends and family, things change your mind and your priorities change. So I would just offer that in terms of my legal analysis, my life analysis of what has occurred in this unfortunate situation. I don't believe that it's going to affect him anyway in the long term in terms of legal consequences. If I was representing him and I thought that the evidence was pretty strong, I would negotiate the best possible favorable plea settlement for him. And I think he's probably looking at probably a year probation at the most, maybe some fines and a loss of driving privileges. in the state of Georgia. And I don't know, depending on where he gets drafted, what team takes him, that may not make much of a difference to him. He may go to a state that he can obtain a driver's license, even though his driving privileges are suspended in Georgia. So again, if you have questions regarding reckless driving or careless driving or drag racing charges in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Website gamblinglaw.com. As always, a tremendous resource for you and your family. All of my books, my blogs, my videos are available there. In addition to our podcast, this week we featured attorney Peter Weinbrake, who spoke about his practice representing workers for unfair wages, unpaid overtime, unfair employment practices, and what his firm can do for people in Pennsylvania who are in that situation. But again, if you have questions, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll talk to you all very soon.